All right, Shalom. I want to start off with giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kodash, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught me this truth, and a sincere peace, blessings, and salutations to your Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this knowledge and truth and this sincerity. It's the brother Barzal from the GMS Arizona Camp, Lord Will, with another quick lesson to edify. And I was just meditating on, this whole thing that went down in Alabama. All right, and watch some of the videos, people's commentary, brothers, bringing out edification on it, so on and so forth. And I was just thinking that I would, just Google, because coming up in school and Esau school system, when you're dealing with so-called Black history, I remember back, how there were certain historical events when it came to, the friction between the so-called Black man and the so-called white man that went down in Alabama. So I thought to, just go to Google and look up, civil rights issues that went down in Alabama. And Alabama, the Lord set that up as a major inflection point to rouse up Jake. All right. And we've seen that play out many times before in the past, right there in Alabama, whether it's Birmingham, whether it's Montgomery. They had that March to Selma. A lot of major historical events that changed things, for, so-called Black people in America to a degree, took place right there in Alabama. So it's no surprise that, this whole event, this whole situation that went down, with Jake going WWE on Esau happened in Alabama, because the Lord is using that place to stir up and to rouse Jake up. This is Genesis 49:9. It says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who should rouse him up? See? And what's happening is Jake is being roused up by the hatred that is being shown towards him. Jake, will take a punch and turn the other cheek, but only for so long before you turn around and you punch back. And that's what we saw from Jake when they were out there in Alabama. That was them basically getting their lick back. That was them, being tired of being punched and being bullied, and the Lord allowed them to get a little lick back, and whatever. That's cool. And we ain't really getting all excited about it, because we understand through the scriptures that vengeance is of the Lord, and that we're supposed to be, harmless as doves, and wise as serpents. So, it's not of us to stand up and pick up arms or to try to go to war with this devil. The war right now is spiritual, to where, we're consuming this devil with the spirit of our mouth, and that's what we're supposed to do if we're in order, if we're following the commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So Judah is being roused up, right? And Judah being the head tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, that's why you see the majority of the clash between the tribes and Esau, Edom starts with Judah. All right, it starts with Judah, because Judah is that head tribe, and as Judah moves, the other tribes is gonna follow suit. They'll follow his lead. Okay, and so going back, it says civil rights movement in Alabama and we'll just read so you can get an idea of how much went down out there in Alabama. So let's see. All right, so it says Alabama was the site of many key events in America's civil rights movement. In the American civil rights movement, Rosa Parks' stand against segregation on the public bus led to the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott, and the violence targeted toward the Freedom Riders of the early 1960s drew the nation's attention to racial hatred in Alabama. It says protests led by Reverend Martin Luther King, bombings in Birmingham, and the pivotal march from Selma to Montgomery led the government to approve the Civil Rights Act in 1965. So here we have a list, of some of the many civil rights events that took place in Alabama. All right. So obviously the Lord, when he wants to spice things up, so to speak, all right, when he wants those tensions to rise, Alabama is a place that he uses to do that, to get Jake going, okay, to get Jake in that warrior spirit that I'm ready to fight back. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm ready to fight kind of spirit. Okay, and you can clearly see it from the list, and these are things we learn about in school. Okay, it says the Montgomery bus boycott, Freedom Rides, Birmingham campaign of 1963, letter from Birmingham jail. Martin Luther King, he made his presence, felt there. He would go and show up, for various civil rights movements. Okay, the Rosa Parks issue, the Selma to Montgomery March, modern civil rights movement in Alabama, 16th Street Baptist Church, where a lot of the famous speeches that we know took place during that civil rights movement. Just a lot going on, man. Children's Crusade, Bloody Sunday. Okay. All right there in Alabama. Now, I got this video queued up that I'm going to play that kind of goes into a little bit of the history. All right. But it clearly shows this devil's perpetual hatred that he's always had for you Israelites. Okay. It started way back. Okay. It started here. Or this is a great example of the friction all the way from the beginning between Jacob and Esau that we see playing out today in situations like this. Situations like what happened, at the riverboat in Alabama. Jacob versus Esau. This is Genesis 25 and 22. It says, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. It says, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So the manner of people and the 2 nations is speaking about Jacob and Esau. Jacob being the 12 tribes, and Esau being the so-called white man today. All right. And it says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elders shall serve the younger. And you can clearly see in that video, all right, who was the stronger people. You can clearly see in sports and entertainment, all right, and also in academics, in creativity, who is the stronger and the greater people. It's the Israelites, clearly. Not even close. All right. It says, and the elders shall serve the younger, because in the end, the so-called white man is going to serve the Israelites in the kingdom. The so-called white man is going into captivity under us. When our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai comes back, he's going to destroy the current kingdom of Esau, Edom, and put them into captivity. So the elder because Esau came out first, is going to serve the younger, which is Jacob, the 12 tribes. So as you can see, it says that the two children they struggled together within her womb, within Rebecca's womb. Now, if we get that word for struggle, all right, because we're seeing all of this play out in current time. All right, that word struggle.
7533, Ratsats.
All right, it says to crush, oppress. It says to be crushed, to be broken, to crush in pieces, to grievously oppress. See, now this is what the children were doing to one another inside Rebecca's womb. There were twins, but two different manner of people. And this is what you see manifesting in the world today between the so-called white man and so-called black man. It says to crush each other. All right. It says in the Strong's definition, it says to crack in pieces, literally or figuratively, break, bruise, crush, discourage, oppress, struggle together. And that's what's happening. That's what the Lord is manifesting on this world stage. That's what the Lord manifested in Alabama the other day at that riverboat, with that riverboat melee. And it's nothing new under the sun. Same thing happened, in the 1950s, 1960s, pretty much in the same areas. All right. And this video here is going to go into some of the histories. So it's like the Lord got a timer set to where he uses this place of Alabama to rouse Jake up, okay, to increase tensions, to make sure that, people are, the clash and the tension is still there, okay, because we know according to prophecy that the people are going to stand up to fight against one another. Various nations, they're going to be class wars, there's going to be race wars. People are going to be battling one another, putting each other to death. All right. And this is just one manifestation of that. Okay. So let's check out a little bit of this video. This is fair use, just using it for informational purposes. So check out this video, and I'll grab another precept and close out.
Martin Luther King Jr. came to Birmingham, Alabama in 1963 on a mission to a place he called the most segregated city in the United States.
To dramatize this blatant injustice and to demand that the federal government not put a cent in this city unless it decides to face the realities of desegregation.
In the nonviolent demonstrations that followed, King and hundreds of protesters were arrested. They were pressing the city to eliminate laws that sought to keep blacks and whites separated in schools, restaurants, and many other public places. Historian Robert Corley says King and the local civil rights leaders needed this strategy to succeed.
There had been no movement whatsoever in this city toward any form of desegregation of any of its institutions. And so King was saying, if we can win in Birmingham, if we can come to Birmingham and prevail, then we can win anywhere.
King and his followers were met with fierce resistance from the police. Public Safety Commissioner Eugene Bull Connor, backed by the majority of white residents, was determined to stop the demonstrations. Without enough volunteers to continue the protests, King and other leaders enlisted hundreds of young school children to keep the marches going and fill up the jails. The young African-American student protesters would gather here on the steps of the 16th Street Baptist Church and hear inspirational speeches from civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They would then file from the church and walk across the street to a park where they were determined to demonstrate peacefully for equal rights.
I was arrested after we got about a block away from the church, in this area.
Janice Kelsey was 16 years old when she and her schoolmates were jailed.
My mind was made up. I was going to participate. I was going to go to jail. I wanted to get my freedom.
Then on the second day of the student demonstrations, things turned violent. Police turned high-pressure fire hoses on the young people and set attack dogs on them. Birmingham civil rights leader Reverend Calvin Woods was there.
There had been some dog biting, some beating, some killing. Many people were beaten and spit on and put in jail, lost jobs. But those were minor things compared to what we felt we had to do.
The brutal crackdown was widely televised, and images of the event were seen around the world. Robert Corley says this incident galvanized new support for the civil rights movement.
It was really that children's crusade that really turned the tide, because it did serve the goal of filling up the jails and forcing the white community to come to the table with King and negotiate some sort of settlement.
Eventually, King and Birmingham city leaders reached an agreement. Within months, the local segregation laws were abolished. Reverend Woods says King's determination to keep the movement going made all the difference.
We would not have accomplished what we did if it had not been for the support and leadership that Dr. King brought.
The Birmingham campaign was a climactic battle of the civil rights movement. For many, it stands as an iconic symbol of the sacrifices made by King and thousands of African Americans. Chris Simpkins, VOA News, Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, and that imagery, it's some powerful imagery, going into the history, but Jake just confused because, Jake proud as hell about these little, civil rights wins and Martin Luther King and all this shit. And you think about all that they went through back then, but look at your life now, Jake. Y'all still out here. We still fucked up out here. We still at the bottom. These police still shooting us down the streets. Esau still don't want you around. You know what I'm saying? And they still hate you. Trump was still racist as a motherfucker. These devils, they still hate you, man. So they all of this just gave you some false hope. Jay got to wake up and realize that the only way out of here is through Yahweh Shai Shai. All right? Okay? Because that same struggle was still going on that was going on in the womb of Rebecca. This is Ezekiel 35. I'll start at the top. It says, "Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir." All right, Mount Seir represents the dwelling place of Esau, Edom. So Mount Seir represents Edom. Okay, it says, "And prophesy against it." So that's what the prophets do. Okay, when you prophesy against Mount Seir, you prophesying against Esau, Edom. You're prophesying against the so-called white man, prophesying against his kingdom. You're prophesying his downfall. You're prophesying the fact that he's going to become the slave, that he's going to be on the bottom, that he's going to be the one oppressed. Everything he's done unto us is going to be done unto him double. All right? That's what we're prophesying to this man. Okay? Because that's the fact. That's what the Lord is getting ready to come back and do. This is the prophecies of the scriptures. All right? And they're all going to be fulfilled. Verse 3, it says, "And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee." See? The Lord is against the so-called white man. Okay? It says, "And I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate." He's going to completely destroy this man. All right? Verse 4, it says, "I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh." And here's the point: because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. See, that's called payback. All right, you killing the Israelites, you oppressing them, you spraying them with water hoses and then sticking attack dogs on them just because they want, a fair shake. That you constantly, every opportunity you get, that you show your hatred for us. So the Lord was like, all right, when you had your time, you spent it killing, raping, robbing, and murdering the Israelites. Then guess what? Since you love all that blood, then blood gonna pursue you. They're gonna shed yours. And the Lord gonna give us our time to do that in the kingdom, according to the scriptures. So it says, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sit thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. All right. So there you go. Your devil's gonna get your payback. All right. And the Lord is using Montgomery, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, and various parts of Alabama to fulfill his will. All right. So anyway, with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shem Shai, the honors, and to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And then sincere peace, blessings, and salutations to Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this knowledge and truth and this sincerity. All right. With that, Lord willing, this was edifying. Just wanted to bring out some history, things I was meditating on. Man, it's beautiful to see the Lord fulfill his will. Okay. And, just the way that the Lord is using that place of Alabama, okay, to rouse Jacob, okay, to move prophecy forward. We're going to see more of the Egyptian against the Egyptian. All right. We're going to see, friends fighting like foes. Okay. We're going to be seeing, and going into these last days, friends fighting like enemies, and one nation standing up to fight against another, and swords in their hands, as it says in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. So prophecy is moving forward, call hello, Yahweh, Shem Shai. But until next time, I'm going to say shalom.